My name is Aaron Watson. I'm with the Watson firm here in Pensacola, Florida. I just want to talk briefly about your rights, what you're guaranteed to. If you live in the United States of America, one of the first rights, one of my favorite rights, is the right to have a lawyer. You have a right to have a lawyer. You get charged with a crime, somebody says you've done something, you have a right. You know, when they amended the Constitution, they gave each and every one of us the right, to have a lawyer present. So if you get into a situation where you've been charged with a crime, arrested, exercise that right. I want my lawyer. It's constitutional rights, guaranteed to you, And when you go to court, the judge will ask you, if you can't afford one, we'll appoint one for you. That's why you have the public defender's office, where they come in and defend you at no charge, So that's a constitutional right. A lot of folks will say, you see celebrities do it all the time. They say, I'm not talking without my lawyer, You see people exercise that right all the time, but when we get in trouble, a lot of our, kids and youth and people who just don't know their constitutional right, we start, I was gonna say singing like a canary, but you don't have to talk and explain your side at that particular moment. You have a right to remain silent. That's another one of your constitutional rights I want to talk to you about. You don't have to talk. Police officers come and say, hey, tell me what happened, say you want your lawyer there. That's your right to do that, Certainly, you don't want to obstruct an investigation, but don't feel like you are obstructing an investigation by exercising your right. Of course, we all, in our minds, we want to help people out, want to help solve the crime, but at the end of the day, these are your rights. You're not being mean by saying you want a lawyer. You're not being rude by saying, I want to remain silent. When the Constitution was amended, they said that's your right. You can say that to an officer. You don't have to speak, And so whenever I represent folks charged with crimes, I tell them, if anybody comes to your house, anybody asks you about this case, you tell them you have a lawyer and you like to have your lawyer present. I'm okay with giving statements if I'm there. If I know what we're going to be talking about, and I have a chance to talk with my client. But that's the last place, you ever seen, what is it, First 48? I hate watching that show, because you get those people, they accuse somebody of a crime, they put them up in the investigation room, and you can see they got tactics on how to get the information out of you. And I'm sitting there thinking, please ask for your lawyer. Please just say, I want my lawyer present, As soon as they say, I didn't mean to do it, the next thing you see them walking out on the TV show in handcuffs, If they had just exercised that right, I don't want to talk, I'm going to remain silent. I'm exercising my right, and, and ask for your lawyer. That's all you need to do. They're going to stop. If you hear on TV that if the person asks for a lawyer, they're going to stop. They got to stop, So they exercise that right to counsel, exercise that right to remain silent as well. A lot of folks say, when I get pulled over in a traffic stop, if I tell the officer they can't search my car, that they don't have to search my car, they're not going to search my car. And that's not always true, because there's a lot of ways they can get inside your car, even though you object to it. Of course, you want to object to anybody searching your home, searching your car. But the issue with it is if, a lot of times what the officers will do is they'll stop you and they'll keep you there, just enough time to bring out a dog, and if the dog alerts that there's something in the car, they're going in it, or if there's something in plain view, that appears to be something illegal, they're going in it, so, but that doesn't stop you from objecting, you want to make clear today, no, I do not consent to searches, I do not consent to searches, I want my lawyer present, but, no, somebody asked me the last time I spoke, they said, well, if I say it, that means they're not going in. That's not always the case. It's like you saying, you put your hands up in the air and say, I don't have a weapon. That don't mean you're not going to get shot. That it all depends on the officer that you're dealing with at that particular time. And listen, I'll be the first to tell you, just like there's good lawyers, there's bad lawyers. Every day, I get a newspaper from the Florida Bar which tells me how many lawyers have been arrested, disbarred, for stealing money from clients and all that stuff. I can't tell you how many times I'll get a call from clients saying my doctor cut the wrong intestine. It's called medical negligence, medical malpractice. Law enforcement officers aren't immune from that. Of course, we got professional officers, we got folks who are trained and they go by the book. But you got some folks who are just careless. You know, you might have people think that racism doesn't exist. It does exist. You know, you may be confronted with that crazy officer or that crazy or that racist officer. You don't know who you're dealing with. So the best thing to do when you come across an officer, I tell young folks this, I tell adults this, is to comply. Because you don't know who you're dealing with at that time. You never met this person before, and this officer never met you before. He doesn't know what you're capable of, and you don't know what he's capable of. You know, so you might just be confronted with the bad egg. Just like you go and hire a lawyer, that might be the bad egg lawyer, and that might be the bad egg doctor. You know, you don't know. But when coming into an encounter with law enforcement, the best thing you can do is comply. But remember your constitutional rights. You know, I always tell people that one of the best things you can do is get a law degree. And if you don't have a law degree, you can go to Online Sunshine. That's a website that lists all the Florida statutes, the laws that govern all of us. You know, how fast you can go when you drive a car, under what circumstances the officer can do A, B, and C. I mean, everything we do, there's laws. You know, there's laws and codes that regulate where this church is and how many people can come in. You can't have 200,000 people in this particular room because it's a fire code violation. But I encourage everybody to go to that website, on Florida Online Sunshine, and look at the statutes. Look at the Bill of Rights. You know, there's essentially 10 main amendments that you just need to know about. You know, I mean, know about all the amendments, but you need to know about your First Amendment, freedom of speech. You need to know about the right to bear arms. You know, you need to know about the fact that you have the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. You need to know about the fact that you have the right to remain silent. You need to know about the fact that you have a right to a lawyer. You know, that's your constitutional rights. You know, and you see videos online where people, you know, I hate when they do it, but they videotape themselves encountering law enforcement officers. You know, an officer pulled them over, and they'll start videotaping and saying, "I know my this right. That officer ain't concerned with." That's not the right time. That's my job to go in front of a judge and argue my rights. That officer ain't there to hear about you know what you got to say. They just not. They're not a judge. They're not a jury. You know, their job is to go and enforce the law. They don't want to hear about your defense and your constitutional right. I understand it. You can object it, and I encourage you to. In fact, if somebody, an officer asked to go into my car, you know, I would raise my constitutional rights. I object to it. I don't consent to searches. I'm going to remain silent. That don't mean he got to listen to it. That's for the judge and that's for the lawyer to come back and say, hey, he violated my rights. You know, now we got a constitutional lawsuit, civil rights violation. Yes, we can go back and take it up with the officer and the supervisor and internal affairs and the ACLU and all these folks the next day. But at the time, assert your objection and do what the officer tells you to do. The handout that I gave you I thought it was golden. You know, you can keep it. In fact, I was going over with my wife today, and she was saying, you know, I'm going to keep it in my car. You know, keep that in your car. Know what your rights are. Keep a copy of the Constitution. They have a little small Constitution that you can get online for free. Keep that in your car as well. You know, just know the law. If you know the law, I think that you'll go far. But just keep in mind that in an encounter with law enforcement, you're not going to win that battle, you know, by trying to outsmart the officer, by trying to argue with the officer. He tells you to stop and you start running or something like that because, you know, well, the law says that I don't necessarily, if I'm not under arrest, you know, I could just leave, you know. That gets kind of touchy, you know, because, you know, that officer could say he did place you under arrest and you ran, now you're evading, and it just gets touchy. My best advice to you, a lot of folks hate when I give this advice. What do you mean? If that officer starts beating me up, what if I can't breathe? Are you telling me I can't fight back? Comply. I can't tell you to fight an officer. And if you come to my office and say you want to sue the officer, you want to sue the city of Pensacola, and you fought back, you beat up the officer, you know, he happened to feel like his life was threatened, and he pulled out a gun and shot you. And I'm not saying you don't have a case, but it's a tough case for me to win when you get into a fight with a law enforcement officer. Now, if you just sitting there, you know, say for example this case that just occurred, you know, I think it's going to be that's going to be a good case. You know, I hate that it happened. I hate that it happened, but you know, the guy's hands are in the air, and they stayed in the air. You know, I mean, I don't know what else he could have. I mean, well, what he could have done in that situation was just get on the ground and don't move and just end it. You know, but you know, I was telling my wife, you know, you got folks who are, you know, folks like me. You know, who the officer tell me to do something, I'm about to do it. But I'm not, everybody ain't Aaron Watson. You got some people who, I ain't about to do what you're going to tell me to do, you know. But what we pay for in training officers is professionalism in dealing with everybody. You got to understand that everybody ain't going to listen. And everybody is not going to get on the ground. You know, some folks ain't going to get on the ground. Some people, you tell them to come this way, they're going to go that way. But we train you on how to deal with those people, you know, how to de-escalate situations. You know, we give officers, you know, various means on how to get people in control. You know, it ain't just a gun. You got the baton, you got the taser. You know, I saw a video the other day where they had a beanbag that they shot at the person. There's other ways, you know. You go over there and just expose officers, go tackle the guy, you know, whatever the case may be. But that's going to be an interesting case, you know. But I'm also concerned at the same time about it, you know, just because we've seen so many people get charged, but we haven't seen too many people, you know, actually go to jail. You know, so it's concerning, even as an officer of the court, as a lawyer, you know, it's concerning on my part, you know, but I hope justice is done. But regardless, back to my point, you know, I printed out a summary of what you should do in a law enforcement encounter. If you don't remember anything else I told you tonight, you know, comply. Comply and call me the next day. You know, that's not the time to argue with the officer. It's not the time to fight back. You know, it's the time to listen and comply. Thank you so much for your time.